Everybody, thanks for watching. Just a quick reminder to never pay again, sell will end tomorrow. So make sure you guys take advantage. I've emailed a bunch of people the link and everything, and I posted it on YouTube and story. I posted it on Instagram. Make sure you guys take advantage of the sale. Trying to make it as affordable as possible. A lot of people have been asking about it. I've been incognito. I explained in the last video about my situation with my heart and congestive heart failure, and I'm getting a lot better because I'm able to talk more. It's tough to really do videos and really talk a lot. It was before because get really fatigued and out of breath, and it's just was tough, which is why I haven't put out any videos in a while. But I'm a lot better than I was. Everything I've been doing, changing the diet and exercising a lot more, eating completely healthy. It's been working. That along with just taking the right herbs and everything has been really helping. And I appreciate a lot of you guys sending me recipes and sending me herbs and everything like that. A lot of people really had good ideas on things to use and things to take to help with this. And yeah, from me, having my last visit, it worked. Like my heart was pumping at 22%. And I had no clue. They basically misdiagnosed me with pneumonia, and that's what I thought I had, but I actually had congestive heart failure, which my father just died from a few months ago, as I explained before. So yeah, it's a hereditary thing, and luckily we caught it in time for me. But it's just been a process of me doing the right thing and putting the right combinations together for my health to fit me, because everybody is different, everybody's body is different. So I just needed to really focus on what's going to work for me and what's right. So yeah, I appreciate you guys hit me up with a lot of those recipes, because when you're going vegan and when you're not eating meat, one of the tough parts is finding something that you like to eat. So we know what's healthy, we know what's good for us, but finding the right combination of stuff that you like, and being able to make it or have it available for you and then eat it and be satisfied is tough. That's the toughest thing. But it's good to have people who've been through the process and who has a good Rolodex of recipes to do this. So I appreciate you guys on that, helping me out. But I want to get into this video and really just touch on I'm always a religious guy as far as debating religion and getting into religion. And it's something that, as I said before, we're not going to be able to get people out of their religion because people won't take the time to do so. They won't take the time to be, you know, really in their studies and really get the right information to help them get out of this. So us being who we are and being conscious people and wanting to help people out, that's fine. But some people, again, you got to learn when to cut things off and just let people do them and let them find the information themselves. I don't really promote Merkabah and Merkabah Academy too much. I promote it on sites that people already know me, but I don't try to go out of my way too much to do it, because the thing is, people who are looking for this information, if you're looking for it, you're going to find it. You're going to find me. You're going to find these books. You're going to find this information, and that's what's going to happen because you want it to happen because you're looking for this information specifically. So the issue is, a lot of people are just really caught up in mainstream medias. All the information that's been put out over the years, mainstream, is just what we've been taught growing up on religion. And we all know, everybody follows TV. They follow what TVs and the trends talk about. And it's never going to happen that they're going to come out and say, well, we've been scammed over the years and, all this stuff is a lie. And the reason why a lot of people can't come out of religion is because they just follow this stuff, what's been told. If it's such a big, conspiracy and it's wrong and it's false, how come people are following this stuff? How would the government allow these mega churches to be built and people to basically, save themselves crazy money to tell a lie that can be proven a lie? So something that is so far-fetched, it's hard for people to believe. Even though it's common sense and it makes sense, it's tough for people to believe when they don't see the world respond to that information. So, we had the Twin Towers fall, 2001. Big deal around the world. Everybody's talking about it. major earthquakes we see, everybody's talking about it. Any wars or major events, everybody's going to talk about it. It's going to be a big deal. Even when it's a new discovery, we see it in the media. So by them not really putting out no information to the contrary of biblical religion, people are going to believe it. And the thing is, you have to understand who these people are and why they're able to do what they're doing. In my videos, I like to talk about conquest and people understanding conquest and how things came to be. Because if you don't understand the past and how all these wars and everything happen and how we get to this point, it's not going to make sense. Nothing is going to make sense. So the biggest thing about religion is understanding the wars, understanding the past, and looking back and seeing what happened so long ago for these religions to come about. I mean, today we can look at how the world is basically under the control of religion, organized religion. It's everywhere. But how did it get established? And of course, I touch on this in a lot of videos, but it's what you really have to go back and look towards to see why religion is as strong as it is. Not by just saying, mainstream media hasn't put out any information against religion and it's everywhere. It's all over TV and then people get all emotional over religious stuff. And why is it allowed if it's fake? When you see something that's a fraud, the media is so quick to expose it and people expose it all the time and we see what happens. But with this, it's allowed to fester and you got these religious figures, you know, making millions of dollars off of something that it's fake. So how is it allowed? And you got to go back and understand that the people in power are responsible and behind the lie, which is why it's allowed. Again, just certain things you can look at, as I always say, if this is true, then why is this that way? Or if this is false, or if it's not true, then why is this that way? So the thing you got to understand is we look in the Bible, and the Bible tells us that the government has been put in place, ordained by God to basically be in power. So we look at that, and we're supposed to be following the Bible because this Christian country, so-called Christian country. But you put your hand on the Bible when you go to court, right? And you swear to tell the truth because as I talked about in the book of Ezra, we can find our laws is talking about setting judges and magistrates and being in prison and confiscation of goods and all that is in the book of Ezra. So you put your hand on the Bible in court for a reason. But we look at all that and then you look at the government who clearly has made laws that go against the Bible. Talked about how, marriage, gay marriage, allowing gay people to be married is completely, the Bible is against it, put it like that. And you have also the fact that you have the FCC, as I talked about this before, who is a government entity. The FCC is what regulates what we see on TV, what we hear on the radio, what have you. But we have TV shows like Family Guy and everything that makes a mockery of God and Jesus. So for this government to be put in charge to basically maintain this biblical, image, we're not seeing it. We're not seeing that compassion. We haven't seen it ever, really. So it was one of the things that caused the abolitionists to rise up is the fact that they was reading the Bible and it had so much good stuff in it. And it's like, well, this can't be God's will for us to treat these people this way because it's just not, the God that they serve is supposed to be forgiving and loving and what have you. And couldn't no preachers break down and explain why we are enslaving these black people for so long. So a lot of when you go look at the slave narratives in the Library of Congress, you'll read a lot of the abolitionist stories as well and why a lot of these white folks decided to help black people. Just going back and looking at that, going back and looking at history and seeing that, you have to understand what took place for you to grasp why the Bible is in place in the place that it is. So again, we look at conquest. Talked about Ptolemy II, Philadelphus, and just understanding this is the start. We get the Septuagint in Greek. We get the start of this biblical domination in Africa, Northern Africa, in Egypt. So we have Coptic Christians. We go over to their conquest. You following the conquest now of the Greeks, going over into Syria, which is why you can go and look at in Acts is talking about the Syriac Orthodox Church and them calling it Christianity in Antioch. So what happened? You follow that story, and then we follow, well, wait a minute, this is a time where the Greeks was ruling here, and this is probably why it happened. And then we keep following conquest. What happens next? The Romans come and take over the Greeks, and they basically continue Hellenization, which, as I said, is the spreading of this false doctrine. So ask yourself, why with Rome, when we go back and look at Rome, we see the Roman Caesars, we see the Romans proclaiming themselves as gods. These people equated themselves to gods. So why would they scrap all that, scrap their culture and their customs to follow what the Greeks was pushing and to continue what the Greeks was pushing after, Hellenization and after they took over? Why would they do that? So we got to look at that and look and see that we get the Roman Empire and we get the establishment of Christianity by Constantine, and then his explanation, as I talked about, the battle on Milvian Bridge. He said that he had a dream that Jesus basically said, if you carry this symbol across Milvian Bridge, you will have a victory. And yeah, it's so much to look into as to how this stuff came about. And it's suspect because the entire reign, even to this day, of the Roman Empire has been, against the Bible. It's been things that's been against the Bible. So if you're a Christian, these things are things that you should not be doing if you're a Christian. So I put this out on my Instagram about one of the reasons why I kept looking into biblical religion or what have you, and slavery is the biggest part. And it's one of the reasons when I talk to Black people why I bring this up and try to get them to explain that and explain how we're supposed to follow a book given to us or taught to us by people that enslaved us. So the biggest thing is you have to really look at this and say to yourself, how could these people do this and forget slavery, then try to justify the rest of their life under these Christian laws or what have you, this Christian values? So I'm basically saying, how can you hang a Black man and rape his wife and beat children and starve them or what have you, then go home and be a Christian to your family or be a Christian to the rest of the world after you've been doing something so evil? It's something to think about. But again, talking about conquest here, we look in the Bible and we look at, as I talk about, the tribes that the Hebrew Israelites are ordered to go and conquer. These are Africans, plain and simple. These are African tribes when you pay attention. So again, as a Black person, when you go and look at this and look at these Jebusites and Hivites and Perizzites and the Girgashites and all that, and you see that it traced back to Ham, and Ham is supposed to be the progenitor of Black people, how can we again follow this? And it's clearly justifying what took place. So how they got around it is basically saying, well, in the Bible, we see that slavery is condoned by Jesus, by God. It's allowed. So also what's allowed is conquest. If these people are not Christians, if they're not following what we, deem as right under Christianity, God has given us the power to basically conquer these people and take their stuff because it's in the Bible. And we're saying, as conscious people, this was put there to justify what they did to us in real life, plain and simple. So following conquest and following these wars, we don't see nowhere in proven history of these people, these tribes existing, the Girgashites and the Perizzites and the Hivites or what have you. We don't find them. But supposedly these are African tribes. What we do find in real proven history is the Greeks going out into northern Africa and Egypt specifically and conquering and taking over these lands. And we know the Roman Empire did the same thing. And you look at the Roman Empire, the map from back then, what do you see? You see all this land, northern Africa, Roman territory. They conquered, they took over. And then they conquered their way into so many European civilizations that was, originally ruled by Black people. And they changed history. It's how can we accept the history of our conquerors as, giving us any truth? They won't tell the truth that we were actually here before them. We know they didn't establish this place. They didn't establish these civilizations. We were here first. There's an entire book on the destruction of Black civilization, of African civilizations. And we know that they tore down kingdoms. They tore down all the proof that we were kings before they were kings. They tore down all the proof that they came in and was learning from African people. And what's left when you go over there is just the remnants, the ruins of a lot of these African kingdoms and castles that prove that we were kings, that we had kingdoms, that we ruled until conquest. Again, Christians got to understand, colonization, why that word exists, conquest, why that word exists. Think about it. Colonization, colonizers. These people came in and took colonies, land, civilizations from the indigenous people and made it their own. This is what happened, and it's documented. They'll tell you. So then you got to think about that and ask yourself, why? Why was this done? How was this allowed? If it's supposed to be this powerful God and these people are supposed to be praising this God, why did he allow these people to do it? And why would they want to do it under Christianity and do such evil things that don't make sense? What does make sense is the truth and what really happened. It makes more sense that they created this religion out of control. It's not that this religion was so true and proven so true and so good that it civilized the world, that it caused all these civilizations to come under it because it's just so good. Christianity was established under the sword, by the sword, because of war. It's not a coincidence that the major leaders and rulers back then were Christians, because they came together to put this whole thing out. And the Crusades tells you exactly what they did. If you didn't get down with the religion, if your civilization couldn't tolerate the Pope being in power or tolerate Christianity and its laws, you were slaughtered. And the Crusades is exactly what they did. They went out and took over and killed all the people that had a problem with the papacy and Christianity, the people who asked questions. The reason why these African civilizations had to be taken down is because we held the truth. We held the truth of who they were, and we knew what we established and what we taught them. So if you're trying to put this religion out and get people to follow it and get it to be as big as it is today, you got to get rid of the people who know the truth. And that was us. That's Northern Africa, and where all of this, information and knowledge and math and science and astrology existed. Remember, the so-called Greek philosophers went into Egypt to learn. They learned this stuff from Black people. So they had to get rid of them to try to spread this lie as them having all the answers, of being the ones that's in power and being the ones who had all the information because of whatever reason. So in the beginning, the establishment of Christianity, they're using the religion and basing everything off of the religion. And that's how they ruled. So we go to King Henry VIII, and the reason why he kicked Rome out of the Church of England is because, well, not just because that he couldn't get the Pope to give him a divorce from his wife, is that, okay, if all this shit is illegal, do something illegal for me. But we can't do something like that in the public eye to where everybody's going to say, well, the papacy is not supposed to do that. It goes against their religion. So we had this separation, and we had the schisms. I talked about this in previous videos, the schisms and the separation, and the Nestorius or what have you, and the Nestorianism, and the separation between the rulership within the religion to basically say Christianity is one thing, and the papacy saying it's another. God is God, Jesus is God, or Jesus is the Son of God, and all that stuff like that. It was always splits. It was always arguments, but it just gave more validity to the people that the religion must be true if they're having this heated argument and people are going to war over this argument. But again, there was never any proof or anything that was concrete to basically establish Christianity amongst the civilizations. It was war, plain and simple. And when the dust settled, the Christians were in power, and everything followed after that. They outlawed the old ways and anything that would trace back to the old ways, as I talked about. And they ushered in what they wanted to usher in. They wanted to keep all the control and the knowledge of these things in their hands. But Black people had the knowledge. It was part of our culture. We had the information about medicine and math and science. It was a part of everything we was doing. So they had to stop that. Now, what I constantly hear from Black people, Black Christians, is Black people wasn't the only people that was enslaved, as if that makes up for slavery, as if white people being enslaved in a very low capacity justifies the hundreds of years of slavery that Black people endured. Over 1,000 years. We talk about the Arab slave trade as well, not just in America, but as if that justifies it, that some white people was enslaved in America for a short while. And when when the law was passed to free those people and stop slavery of white people, how come black people didn't get the same treatment? Why is it that we didn't see this slavery by the Europeans of the Asians? And, even going over to Australia, going over to any other lands that Europeans were at, how come we don't see this mass slavery the way it was done with black people? Now, I know what happened in Ireland and the slavery that took place there, but that was, the whole British um, Ireland wars that was going on and everything. So that's different. But we got to look at, we were basically split up amongst the European powers, that they actually had conferences where they came together to basically divide Africa amongst themselves so they wouldn't fight amongst each other. And this is proven. This is a true story that they did this. And they came together to basically divide the resources in Africa so that they can grow their civilizations. So we sitting there trying to justify slavery as being okay because it's in the Bible and because we wasn't the only people being enslaved. But you're looking at it from the wrong angle. Whereas after slavery, who gained the most? They did. Who made the most because of slavery? They did. So if it's some type of, justification for slavery, as far as, we did this to you, we made money, let's go ahead and help you out now. Where did we get the help? We got freed and we endured another over 100 years of, basically slavery, basically being tortured and treated like fucking animals. And everything we had stripped from us caused us to not be able to establish a strong economic civilization, because we had to basically go off of what we learned from them. And we know about Black Wall Street and a couple other communities and towns that was able to basically grow. But what happened after that? When they seen that we were financing each other to be in power and that we were financing each other to grow economically, they changed the situation. So they changed everything up. Before, we had so many wealthy Black businesses, so many prominent Black businesses that were, financing the growth of Black economics. The only way you can be rich, the only way you can have money in this country, we see the majority of Black people that's wealthy in this country are what? Entertainers, athletes. They control that. So they made sure that if we're going to let these Black people get super wealthy, why are we going to make it hard for them in business? And even if they get to that point in business, guess what? They got to get all kinds of permits and citations or what have you. Register this and register that. You got to go through the white man still to get what you need to become wealthy as a Black person. So if they don't want you to be wealthy, they can just make sure your company don't flourish or the bank don't give you a loan to even start the company. So they still have that control there. So the only other way is under their control with sports entertainment. They run and control that. So we got to understand that, slavery changed from different form, from one form to another, and we're still under their rule. And how could this be allowed for so long? And it's just one of the things people got to look at that's religious and just say, it's not that we are against the Bible because we just want to rebel against God and we don't want to do the right thing. It's because we look at the world, we look at our history, we look at what happened to us, and we can see that it don't fit with this bullshit Bible. It don't fit with this peace and love that Jesus is supposed to have for us. We don't see that shit. We don't see it. We see starving kids in Africa. We see Black people being shot on the streets for no reason. We're seeing what's been happening to our people for hundreds of years, and we choose not to believe this cushy bullshit that some Jesus is supposed to have our fucking back, and we never seen it. And it's crazy that these Black people step forward and try to justify this religious bullshit with their own life experiences because they're too scared to say they fucked up, or they're too scared to say that they got to where they are because they wisened up. If you was going through something and you struggled and it got so bad for you that you had no choice but to do good, that's why you're where you are now. It ain't that Jesus put a spirit on you and sent somebody to help you out of it. You stopped bullshitting and you got free of it. That's what happened. That's why you're doing well now. You put down the dope. You put down the drugs. You did something to change your life that was you. So How are you special from all the people that failed, that ended up in prison? Why didn't God help them? I'm pretty sure they prayed just like you did. So it ain't about some God helping us out and us just not following this book for personal reasons. It's because common sense tells us there ain't no God up there looking out for black folks when we look at the history of what happened to us up until today, to where we've been led by these white folks to be where we are now. You got to know who they are. You got to know who they are. You got to know. And of course, I'm not talking about all white people. I'm not talking about Stacy or Nancy that works at Walmart, what have you. We're talking about the white rulership that's been in power for, since the conquest, since conquest. They took our civilizations. They stole everything from us and built what we see today. It's just that simple. And anybody that does any research, they can see it. But they tell us themselves. They tell us what they did to us. We can see it. So this is the reason. It's not that we just want to be rebellious. It's that a lot of us have done the research. We're not just doing this out of spite. People always say, well, the Bible's a good book. Why are you talking against it? Or people just want to do good in their life, or people just use the Bible for hope or what have you. It's deeper than that. It's not about us just trying to rain on your parade and your religious experience or what have you. It's deeper than that. This book was used to take everything we have. It was used to justify what happened to our people. It's used to basically justify where we are as a people. And to have people in power using it still to this day to justify their position is just crazy. And we can't allow it. Again, it's suspect, for us to, we follow a book that was written by the people who enslaved us. It's just stupid. We follow a book that says that God put them in power. That's just dumb. And we're supposed to be cursed. We're supposed to be, the people who were saved by these people, by this civilization of people, and put here for our own good. We don't see it. If that was the case when they abolished slavery, how come they didn't do anything to put us on par with them? To, at this point, if we became, mentally equal, or let's just say civilized, which we already was before that, why didn't we get the same treatment? If you're going to free us, why treat us the way they treated us to make it more difficult for us to get ahead after hundreds of years of being behind? And then they used us to continue to build the empire. You got to understand how this stuff works. It's deeper than just religion. It's a big economic part to it that you got to really understand. The power that's been put behind this book is why you follow it. Just that simple. If mainstream media pounded for a week, if all your favorite actors and rappers pounded for a week all over the news that the Bible is fake, y'all would drop y'all fucking faith. Drop it. You don't really follow the book anyway. You don't really follow the laws of God anyway. So it'll be real easy for y'all to just drop it. So the rhetoric and bullshit and the attention we get and all the name calling and what have you from people who don't even live by the damn book, they gotta stop. Stupid. So just wanted to put this video out. I've been doing videos in my car lately because, the outside air is just good for me. I go jogging, and when I go run, I try to just, do a video if I can. I have other videos I got to edit and put out. But I wanted to edit this one and put it out. But it's just good being outside, being in this air. It helps out. But I want to thank everybody who took the time to purchase and support and took advantage of the sale. And yeah, see you guys next video.